Now, normally I don't do deck profiles because it's just not something that I do personally. I didn't come up with this deck concept. However, I am unhinged enough to want to share it. Initially, I put the deck together as a joke, then after actually playing with it for a bit, as I kept playing it, I felt like I discovered untold secrets. I decided to look into it and see if anyone else built a similar deck. I only found 2 instances of it. One was someone playing a list in a Heart of the Underdog event on Panda Man Yu-Gi-Oh's channel, and the other was a list I just found on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro. This list has the standard cash stuff, but I just don't know that it's worth all the slots. As you can see, the current deck count is a bit of a mess. The first thing I need to address, I'm on 2 Maxi, not because it's some magical golden ratio on this deck, but because I refuse to generate the 3rd copy. Konami either puts it in a bundle, or they ban it so I don't need it anyway. Same thing goes for Shifter and Tikaboo. I just don't care. Don't bother. Don't need it. The core game plan is to get both Rosin and Xiaolong into the mix. Oh boy. Not only did the Suships do a good job of getting us to both of them via Dempsey, Uni can get you a fire back to your hand. Shiro can stack a Suship for you to draw off a Suship XE, getting you another fire in hand. Ikura can reveal to summon it or get it to hand. They all do a good job at facilitating Xiaolong's search requirement of getting 2 fires in the hand. With Vanquisher live, and the 2 Fireboys in rotation, you're primed to get 2 searches on your opponent's turn. This way you can grab Caesar or Borger, and then grab the one that you didn't off of the second search, making it pretty easy to set up Borger, and if your hand's good enough, you can also have Caesar live. The Suships really help Vanquish Soul snowball faster, which is one of the biggest issues with Vanquish Soul. Pantera has way more utility in this build. Being a free 4 is a really good start. One of the fundamental issues with this deck is the obvious drawing the wrong half of the deck. Pantera can make sure there is no wrong half. She's also a small world bridge to anything in the deck. I'll include a small world calc in the description with the YDK. You can dump it in to check it for yourself. Suship also give us access to Utopic Draco Future, which I'd say is a pretty strong benefit. If you want well thought out and sound logic on the ratios, you're not gonna get it. Everything that's at 3 is pretty self-explanatory. Ikura and Uni, I have it too, just because I feel they're cards that are dependent on drawing the right half of the deck to function. And we're not playing the search spell for similar reason, requiring you to have Shari in hand for it to be online. It's a bit too steep of an ask when we're not playing Suship pure. When it comes to the deck count, since we're playing a few garnets that we want to be searching, like the Suship trap and all the versus stuff, I don't feel too concerned tidying up the list to a 40 count. I honestly don't know if the Suship field spell is even worth playing. The trap, though, this is interesting. Getting a fire back to hand for your reveals, then being able to cycle back any of the Suship engine and grave. Seems like a decent enough tool in this deck. Snow Devil's Destruction Effect has potential to pair really well with cards in the extra like Amblo Whale and Raging Phoenix. I did light experimenting with Yubel Vanquish Soul, and the thought of popping Yubel with Snow Devil gets me giddy. But unfortunately for Yubel, I'm all in on this build. Despite Yubel being a proven meta-relevant strategy, one that won Worlds, yeah, I think Suship clears. Small World, as I mentioned, is insane for bridging in this deck, so just use the calc. The one Small World bridge I saw was Ikura Retaliating Sea to get to Razan. Retaliating Sea is an Earth reveal of 4 and can counter something like OSS, but you're obviously playing the dumb card to banish it anyway, so why even cope about it? Honestly, because of both Caesar and Pantera in the deck, you can convert any singular card into Maxi. I don't think it's good, but something to keep in mind if your win con becomes psychological torture. You can find Shari for the Suship half, and you can find Razen for the Vanquish soul hat. And it's all made possible by Pantera existing. It's why I think she's actually worth running 3 of in this build, because she serves a decent function to the actual strategy, but is also subsequently the soul of this deck. It's just a shame she's the soul of the deck by removing her from it. In the extra deck we have Dempsey. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's how we get to Razen. I'm not running Rhoda or Durandal because Dempsey does the role better. Maybe you could slot Rhoda in for good measure, but Durandal is too maddening a card for me to bother putting in the list. What if you get ashed, though? Just don't. Realistically, if it gets ashed, you can still convert the Dempsey to UDF, or since you got ashed, you can link off Dempsey for Hita to link climb into Promethean. Imperm is less forgiving, though. We already went over UDF, Baguska, classic Plan B. I think it's worth replacing with better options, but I don't have them. Running one of each ship, although I think the only one that I would consider mandatory is Shiro, because it can search the trap, which, as I mentioned earlier, has plenty utility. And their draw effects can supplement your reveals. Uni is, I don't think it's worth playing, but I think there's actually space for a rank 5 toolbox. The rank 5 pool kind of sucks though, so there's not a lot of interesting options. However, there is one. This is just a non-targeting suck on your opponent's turn. This is insane. But it does mean using another extra deck slot on it because it has to suck from the extra. It's definitely something that I think is worth considering. When it comes to less sane options, you can hard make General Kaiser. It's a summon negate. If you can manufacture a way wherein you're constantly able to get Uni with its effect and Xiaolong on field, you can make this. I just don't think that's a very realistic scenario. As I mentioned earlier, we can always link climb through Hita into Promethean Princess. We are in Hell format, so it's not that hard to make Hita and get value. Fun fact about Promethean Princess, I forget that she has another effect other than reborning. That probably tells you how much I've bothered with Fire King Snake Eye. Running 2 Vanquisher because I feel like 3 is a bit much, especially when we're fighting for space with a lot of garbage in here. Dark's in here on the off chance you can make it and have to link climb through it, and SP's in here because it's SP. Ambler Whale, pretty good card. Obviously, it gets Promethean Princess off the board, but it also synergizes with Snow Devil, as I mentioned. You could probably run Raging Phoenix and it might be better, but you know, I may be doing the deck profile. That doesn't mean I'm good at building the deck. I decided to run Typhon because this deck is kind of weak going second. And I really don't want to play the game of praying that you just draw board breakers. The working theory for Typhon in this deck is as follows. You special Pantera, link her off for Vanquisher, then you perform a normal summon, and then you turn your normal summon into Typhon. That way you can use Vanquisher on your opponent's turn to play the game. Of course, this requires getting Pantera and assuming you have other Vanquish souls to go off of, but I think the theory is at least sound, if a bit off. You could and probably should play Zeus with a Zoo engine, but I'm struggling on space and good decision making, so them's the breaks. If you can weed out the suboptimal picks I have, you can definitely make space though. Seeing as Suship can very easily generate a Chakanine into a Borbo without using your normal, it's a nice tool for forcing an interruption. There are even more nuances that I believe I've yet to discover about the deck. And that's the real reason I wanted to share this list. I think this deck has legs. I just don't think I have the brains to make it run.